Malaysia still very much struggles to provide top players.
They come here, they earn good money, they clear their tax, off they go.
We don't say, we are not xenophobic, don't bring in foreigners, bring quality foreigners.
We need to invest in the young and we need to bring them up because, like you said, they are the heroes for tomorrow.
Yeah.
They are being exploited in their own country and they could be exploited in Malaysia.
Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Beyond the Headlines, the go-to space for the top stories that made the headlines and more. I'm Amalina, Kamal.
And I'm Elena, Koshy.
And today we're taking a hard and honest look at Malaysian football.
A long,
yes, exactly.
hard look.
Where
Yes.
it stands, how we got here and where it's headed.
I mean, there was a time not long ago, right? Actually, I can't say not long ago, quite long ago, when the roar of Harimau, Malaysia united the nation. You know, we had our Fantastic Four, right? We had Mokhtar Dahari, Sochin An, Arumugam, Santokh Singh. I mean, that was amazing. Stadiums were packed, flags waving, hope rising with every pass, So football wasn't just a game. It was our shared dream.
But when we talk about dreams, right, Elena, the foundations needs to be strong first. So without a strong foundation, how are we even going to reach that goal? Reach the dream that we achieve to be, like living in one day. And somewhere along the way, I suppose over the decades, the cracks seem to show. And questions about development, accountability, and now the latest blow is the FIFA ruling that once again cast Malaysian football under harsh international spotlight.
I mean, behind all the saucy headlines, there's a deeper story. How we manage our game, where our priorities lie, why despite our passions, we are facing failures and progress has stalled. So
today, it's not just about the scandal, though. I mean, we've taken a few weeks to, be creating or at least having this discussion set up. But it's only because we are observing the trajectory of the developments surrounding Malaysian football. And with that, we do want to understand what's wrong, what's still right for us to continue to progress further and what needs to change if we're able to reclaim our image or reputation.
So to help us unpack this, we have two people who have seen the game from very, very different sides, not just, and sharing the love of football together. So we have K. Rajan, senior sports reporter with the NST, who's been following the national team's highs and lows for almost 2 decades, right? Yeah. And we also have Datuk Richard Scully, former Penang goalkeeper, former vice president of the Football Coaches Association of Malaysia, and currently a talent scout with the National Football Development Program.
Welcome both.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I hope that this particular discussion won't be too intense, but even if it does, I think we're in it just to talk about how we can develop the game, right? The pitch better in that sense.
I mean, it might get a little intense because, most of us are football fans. We have football fans here, and I'm sure Malaysians out there, we have our die-hard Harimau Malaysia fans, wanting to see a difference.
Of course, FIFA's disciplinary committee's findings here about alleged falsification of documents. We go to Rajan first. Maybe Rajan, you can share in terms of where we are at, where are we heading, especially when it comes to, the key findings and the sanctions that's been, reported.
Okay, if we look into judiciary of FIFA, it's a disciplinary committee. It's like a court. They decide, and then you have avenue to appeal. And if your appeal didn't go through, was rejected, you can bring it to CS. So the FIFA disciplinary committee have found Malaysian 7 players guilty, FAM, the national body guilty. The players are sanctioned with 12 months of a ban, and they were fined as well. And then FAM have been fined as well, nearly 1.8 million. FAM have appealed, and then the appeal committee have rejected FAM's appeal. Now FAM is looking at bringing the case to the Court of Sports Arbitration. So the legal process has not been exhausted yet. They might be a reprieve for them, but it's an uphill battle because for FIFA disciplinary committee, if you look at their judgments, 19 pages of it, it's watertight. It's the procedures, everything is well described. What went wrong, why they were found guilty, everything is listed down. Now for FM to prove those judgment wrong, it went to the appeals committee, and unfortunately it was rejected again. So more or less, we are looking at uphill battle. Probably the decision in the CAS would end up with a stay of the decision, the fines, and looking at the implication of it, the loss of image. FM were given the minimum sanction by FIFA based on our good performance in terms of administration. We have never had issues like this before.
Right.
We are having a minimum punishment. It's already you can say we are not really badly hit.
In that sense.
In that sense, yes.
The
you're given a lighter sentence.
So it was like a slap on the wrist, do you think?
It's not that. We are actually been made an example. Before this, we had Timor-Leste. They had same issue. They were banned, fined and everything. Compared to them, our sanction is incomplete. We still have to face AFC, Asian Football Confederation sanction coming up based on the competition, the Asia Cup qualifier that we are in. The players were used in those matches. That is not, the sanction from them are not completed yet. They are waiting for the CAS decision.
Among what we have discussed or what you have laid out there, what do you think this is actually marring or like importance, the importance or the significance of it to actually have to address it because our image has been tarnished in that sense? Why do you think we have to actually act upon it now?
Okay. The reason why we looked up players from foreign shores, that's a short-term project to boost our national team player to get the ranking, to get into the Asia Cup. What happened is the process, the due process. We took shortcuts to get our national team, get our ranking up. So that where the question is, how desperate were you to do this? Were you misguided? Why you have to take this decision to deviate from the norm of all the countries outside? Naturalizing players, using foreign-based players, it is allowed by FIFA.
Right.
As long you adhere to the eligibility rules set by FIFA.
As long as the due processes are followed through.
Yes.
We will go into that, but I just want to give the scale of or the magnitude of this because we know that Malaysia's national football team has not been qualified or has never been qualified in FIFA at all. And in terms of when it comes to like the tournaments on an ASEAN level, we have certain roadmaps being built in certain phases, right? So when things like this happen, it really just disregards or throw all our efforts
Derails us.
outside. Yeah. And how do we bounce back then?
It's not. You do take players, foreign players, and all that. But maybe you can just describe briefly, like the proper way to get a foreign player into the team. What does that entail, and how long does that entail?
Okay, there is this confusion where citizenship of certain country or Malaysia.
Yeah.
Citizenship under FIFA doesn't mean that you're eligible to play. For FIFA, there's two part for a foreign-based player or foreign player to represent a country in FIFA competitions. One is through a naturalization process, which is you have stayed in that country, you want to represent 5 years continuously. And then the other one, which is the heritage, so-called heritage rule, where your grandparents or parents are from those, originally are from the country that you're going to represent. There's just these two ways for you for a foreign citizen or foreign player to represent a country. It's quite clear.
I mean, at the heart of this, I mean, we were discussing this because we want to confront the issue head on, right? And we want to look at whether or not Malaysia has actually been going through the due processes based on development as opposed to just, again, short fix sort of terms, gaps that we're fixing right now. Dato, we go to you. Yep. So you've been involved in both player development as well as coaching, but from a technical standpoint in particular, the dependency towards heritage players do you think that's actually too much? And why can't that particular dynamic be made more, I suppose, how do I say, open to having to also groom our homegrown players instead of like shadowing them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I'm just echoing from what Rajan have said. We pay more attention on this heritage player because it's a short-term result. We need short-term result. We need short-term qualification. We want to enhance the standard of the league and all those things. But despite of all that, we're getting too excited with them, depriving that we have got tons of local players waiting out there to exhibit their talent, to show off their talent, to be spotted by scout, to come up and wear the national colours. But if that's not going to happen, the system itself has got to do something about it because they go through their pathway is through the academy, and after the academy, they graduate and they come to the real world to play in the real Super League, or so to speak. But if you deprive their playing minutes, they're just warming the bench. And the locals has got no chance to even capture a 90 minutes for a season. 90 minutes for a season where you play 90 minutes per game. And then statistically, it shows that our local are not playing enough minutes. But when it comes to age group qualifying, you got to depend on them. And when you bring them on board with the minimum playing minutes, what we expect from them.
Do you think that actually diminishes the motivation for local players to also play?
Yeah, I mean, a pinch of salt, I would say yes, right? But motivation has got a limit. You can just only motivation, all right, I want to play, I want to play like him. But the owner of the club or the league itself doesn't warrant them to play. Where do they go?
But playing the devil's advocate a little bit, maybe when we look from FAM's standpoint, why was there such a need, right, to get these heritage players on board and to depend on them so much? I mean, from an FAM angle, like when you look at it from the other side, why do you think drove them to accelerate this strategy or to...
Is it just to basically look good for a particular tournament that level first, and then later think about it?
I don't think so. That's
I feel when the World Cup slots are expanded, okay, there are more chances of you to get into the World Cup. There are more teams in Asia, you get extra slot. So there are slots that are available now. So you can't afford to wait too long to get your young players, your local talents to come up. So you need to accelerate things. So you bring in these foreign talents. If it done legally, according to what FIFA says, it shouldn't be a problem. Indonesia done it. They went to the 4th round of the World Cup qualifiers. They had done it legitly. They had players. It's not wrong. It's you're chasing up available slots there. Once you're a World Cup nation, you're playing in a World Cup, your whole football structure and everything changes. The spillover effect from playing in a World Cup, even at any level, age group level, youth level, it changes complexion of a football in any country.
But it's like a delicate balance, no? Because you need these foreign players. I mean, technically, you need them to maybe get into the slots in the first place. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, suddenly you have this, but your homegrown talent also have to keep up.
Yeah,
exactly.
With
That's where the balance comes in.
Exactly.
And I think, like Datuk Richard say, we cannot neglect one thing. You cannot chase entirely. You cannot just emphasize only on one thing. We have not getting this balance. At one time, we had a lot of local players that they brought our national team to a certain level. To go to the next level, we need to some top up with some good players, foreign-based players.
Just to showcase dynamism, in
yes,
sense.
to bring us to the next level, we need some foreign expertise. Yes, but relying it on too much, making that dependency there, the drug of foreign players, that's where the danger comes in.
Exactly.
The drug of foreign
That's where actually strategically we in development facing big problem because we have the foreign-based players to help us to qualify. Once they qualify, they might come to an age, and the backup is the development. That is the vacuum we are talking about.
Right.
That's a vacuum we are talking about. Once, okay, you help us to qualify, fine, because the system warrants us. They've got more teams to qualify in the World Cup. It's good. It's an advantage. But you're taking a shortcut to qualify, but you got to look back also that who is going to,
To sustain
the vacuum.
Right.
And development is the only platform who can take over that
Right.
slot.
I mean, so Dato, since we're talking about like lack of grassroots efforts here, right, and player development, Malaysia still very much struggles to provide top players. Why do you think that is so? What is actually holding us back? Is it not enough incentive, not enough infrastructure, not enough coaches?
We have it all. Only thing I would say here is exposure. We need to expose this kid out. You have to have
Play more games.
flavors. Flavors, not only in Asia. You play in Europe. You play elsewhere in the Middle East. Exposure. That is one thing that questionable because we are talking about dollars and cents. Development, you spend money. You don't expect return. You spend money. You invest. You don't expect return. But the shortcut story is further than us. You spend there.
But could it be because, because we were having this conversation earlier about semi-pro going pro?
Yeah.
Because when it comes to semi-pro, you're playing for to be fair, for the love of the game. And, it's not that you're being paid as a full-time player.
Yep.
But when you move to pro, that's when the money issue comes in.
Yep.
So would that have also been one of those things that affected this whole trajectory of, not having enough players, or not to say not having enough players, not much focus is placed on raising up new players. At the same time, we need foreign players to pull us, to push us further. What do you think?
I agree with you because in the era of semi-pro, you play and then you go back to do whatever you do. So that was like your paid allowance and so forth. Probably, to my opinion, I think we rushed too early to go into the pro era. We have not really digested the semi-pro because we were like looking at our neighbors. Oh, they are doing, so why not we do it? We're doing them, and Hong Kong is doing, why not we do? We were too fast on that. I think if you stayed a little bit longer in semi-pro, then you would have learned the trade well. Then you would have got other elements to digest, to see, what will happen to me? How do I behave? How can I manage myself if I go to full pro? But if you go too early, the monetary part is definitely like very encouraging. And probably you will not see that amount of money in your life with your academic qualification, but you just, go out there, play good football. So now, first thing, you have got to know to manage that amount that you are earning, number one.
Yes.
Right? Then it will start diverting. Oh, I want to buy a big car. I want to have a, big home. I want to be, living in a, big luxurious manner. I want to have good girlfriends and so on, something like that. Right?
But that in that sense, in a way, the discipline and principle has changed, right? Because you don't necessarily develop the sort of like a tolerance for why you're in football to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just there for the incentive. I mean, if we just rush things and stuff like that.
But that's zeroing on the players, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we are talking about players and how. But what about looking at the coaching pipeline as well? Is there a particular area that maybe you'd like to highlight upon? Based on semi-pro to pro, what happens to that whole ecosystem? So yes, we have players now who've got a different type of motivation to join. But what about the other aspects of it, like coaching and developing young talents? How is that
talent
affected?
scouting in that sense?
Definitely, we have got to make a check and balance here. We have got to take some good example from our neighboring countries, from Europe. It can we adopt? So we brought in some foreign coaches to bring in that flavor, to instill that thinking. But it somehow or other it backfired us because they also came with the mindset of just making money here and leave the country. They didn't leave anything behind. They come here, they earn good money, they clear their tax, off they go. What do you leave behind? Because every foreign coaches who come and work here, they fail to develop a successor, a local successor. They fail.
I see.
They fail. So this is our concern, being vice president of the Coaches Association. I always question them, why do you come to this country to deprive the chance of my local coaches to earn that amount? You are earning more than them and tax-free. So, okay, fine. If it is a win-win situation, you leave something behind. So now I will put 5 successor local to work under you. When you leave, they got something to carry. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. I don't know whether it's selfish or what, but they knew. They saw the weaknesses in Malaysia. They came, they earn, they make the money, and they go. How many foreigners who came to work in Malaysia have left the country with something, some identity or some DNA? None. So the ownership falls back to the local, and we give them the job. Okay, interim coach. What can an interim coach do? What can he do? And you fire him after 4 matches. Is that fair? I don't think so. It's fair. So the policy makers and the system itself have got to really scrutinize the real good people who can leave behind and live. So many people came and work here. None of them left anything. They left jargons. Oh, we fight for our country. We bleed for our country. Why? We don't know that. We've been to school. We understand that jargon. But what technically DNA you have left in the country so as we can follow? What?
So, Rajan, why do you think there is this gap, though, especially in football? Because we don't see this necessarily in other sports, right? In badminton.
The thing is, if we look the professionalism, pro football in Malaysia, it's still the biggest segment compared to badminton. It's still a mass sports that draws more people in. To add on to what Dato said, when we moved to professional, it sadly ended up just being on paper. We still don't structurally have a club structure that covers infrastructure, development, financing, revenue generation. All this marketing, it's now only coming in. When Japan came in, they came in the 90s, look at our system, and went back doing something totally opposite, and they are succeeding. They got the government support. We here have seasonal government support from the state government, the state ministers, the central MBs. If they are interested in football, they would spend some money. If the new MB comes in and is not interested, he's not going to give money to the football club. So you lose that funding and you struggle.
Right.
The part of professionalism on paper, we expect performance on the pitch professional. They try to do that, but the administration, the management of a club have never really been professional. It's still go and ask people money. There's no generating revenue.
It's
this
like
is
piecemeal sort of attitude,
yeah.
right?
You there's no continuity. So any coaches, club, technical plans, you need money for it. For the first year, you get some X amount of money. The next year, it's less, so you couldn't continue. And then another guy comes in, another MB changes. He's not interested in football, or he has his own set of people that he wants to manage the football team, the football club. Changes. There's no one fixed something that is cast in stone to be followed. It's keep on changing and changing and changing, and we are reaching nowhere.
Yeah, no, because I'm just very genuinely curious, because this lack of competitive sort of tempo, right, that we are actually voicing out right now, the onus is on who? So who's supposed to be bearing the responsibility entirely?
The stakeholders that's responsible for it, of course, the clubs, the FAs, the Football Association, the State Football Association, the national body FAM. We have massive support from the government, but it's not really cast in stone that something, a document that, okay, this is what we give. When Japan did it, JFA did it, they have a 50-year plan to win the World Cup in the 90s. Their step to win the World Cup start in the 90s, and they just recently beat Brazil. We could have never imagined an Asian side beating a powerhouse like Brazil, but they had hiccups. They went to their parliament. They managed to put things in order, support from government, fixed amount of money, seeding money, facilities, building that culture of support in that province, that prefecture. And it continued. It involved, they started with factory sports association clubs, and they developed into a world-beating Asian championship winning teams, producing players playing in Europe, beating Brazil. They had a plan with all the stakeholders involved, and they are moving forward. They made mistake, they correct it. They have naturalized players. They brought in Brazilians to come and play in their league. They were paid by the clubs. They were paid by big companies, sponsored. Everything that they did were calculated, made mistake, they learn from it, don't repeat. Even Indonesia, they made mistakes, they're learning from the mistake, they're not repeating the mistakes. We are still stuck in this limbo, this cycle of repeating our mistakes, not moving forward.
Okay, I mean, because you did talk about the runway period of like Japan's, I suppose, overhaul or redevelopment of how they want to capture football expertise there, I suppose. But for Malaysia, we set something in 2018, correct me if I'm wrong, to reach something by 2030, to at least qualify for World Cup by 2030. Are we on track?
2030 goal back in 2018.
We launched the F30, FAM.
F30.
On paper, it's excellent until COVID happened. But if we look at their time frame, we are supposed to qualify for the Asia Cup. We qualified for the last Asia Cup, I think by merit in 43 years, if I'm not mistaken. Dato. We qualified by merit for Asia Cup after a longer period. So we were on track. Whatever FAM plan, there were some positive to it. But prior to that, we had COVID. So there were some hiccups there. I see that. This is my question every time I go to FAMs, talk to our football administrators. They are struggling to fine-tune what happened and to fix that. I still don't get answer from them. They don't know. They can't provide an answer how to fix that the gap that COVID happened. And sadly, we would face more trouble. This Asia Cup qualifier is supposed to be a continuation. We are going to miss that milestone, and I hope they have an answer if we miss this milestone.
Yeah.
That's a surety, is it?
Yeah, basically, that's
that is?
230. They have three arms. First arm is to get their administrative right. So they have succeeded. That the second arm is to be the best 5 MEs, member association in Asia, and the third arm is, as what Rajan says, qualify for the Asian Cup. That was initial plan because I was part of it as well, in the documentation part of it, and I spoke about the pathway of development reaching there in 2030. But unfortunately, the COVID came in between, so they have got to, by right, they have to sit back and think it cannot be 2030. It should probably could be 2032 because we lost 2 years in the COVID. So they got to sit, readjust and work back our milestone. But having said that, FIFA has their calendar, AFC have their calendar as well. So if they are moving on with their calendar and we are still talking about 2030, F30, we cannot hit the target. Definitely. That is not a rocket science. That's layman way of thinking. You plan 230, but you have missed 2 years.
Missed 2 years, right? Yeah.
And the federation, the AFC and the FIFA calendar is moving forward. You are lapsed 2 years behind to catch that. You can't be battling towards that with the existing plan. You got to re-look back at the plan. F30 probably be F32. But in saying that, there's a lot of things internally has got to be fixed because that's only on paper. That's only a compass. That's where we're going to go come 2023. But a lot of things that is happening. And this another hiccup is the administration part where you can make technical mistake in registration to get yourself in trouble with the World Federation. So you see, these are the small things, but the impact is very big. It affects the country.
Right. Because I truly, again, want to understand how we can actually bridge this gap then. Because, we have our internal plans, we have our trajectory, but, we've got uncontrollable factors at play, which is the COVID, and probably like certain considerations having to move around and loss of like maybe resources in that sense along the way. And then the recent hiccup is in the form of like this particular FIFA sanction here. But thing is, football goes on as normal. Dato, you yourself, you coach as normal. Yeah. So where do we go here when it comes to having to promote local talents better, having to scout more potential talents better, having to also have that link between the seniors and the youngsters? How do we go about now?
I think the federation have to look into junior leagues. I'm a product of a junior league. When I played way back in 79 in my state, I was spotted there to represent the state. At the age of 15, I was playing for the state team, Malaysia Cup. So I was the youngest player in the team. But I was spotted when I had a platform to play, so as the scout might look. Now, we are not talking about youth tournaments. We are talking about Piala Belia and Piala President. That's it. So what is happening below that, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, what's happening? You don't have a domestic league. So that's why we're pushing them. Have a domestic league so that the 13 and 14, they have a league or 9 months league to play. 15 have a 9 months league. 16 have a... That is a continuity of the DNA we are talking about. You cannot have one President Cup and one Piala Belia and that's a seasonal and that's it. Who goes there?
Yeah.
Who goes there? Maybe there's two brothers, younger brother and older brother in a family. The elder brother gets a chance to play there. The younger brother gets demotivated because he don't have a platform to play. So we lose out there. So in the development part, we're looking into all these details. We cannot miss out because these are the heroes of tomorrow. You don't provide a platform for them. Who's going to look at them?
That's the thing. There seems to be, I mean, I do agree, but at the same time, you know, when we go out, especially, or at least like when we engage in community sort of events, we do see there's a love for football. I mean, every night, all the pitches are fully booked in that sense.
Yeah, even in my neighborhood, people do play football.
But why doesn't it translate in this formal context?
See, that's why the policymakers have got to sit down and think what is required with the existing youth and children out there. Are you providing a right platform? You don't sit in the office and you don't produce players in the office. You produce players on the ground. You go down, you see, you smell, you feel. That's what you got to fix.
Yeah.
You cannot just say, oh, policy said this. Paper is just a piece of paper. How to bring that content, the heartbeat of it, you go to the ground. What is required? My 15 need a leak. My 13 need a leak. My 12 need a leak. My 17 need a leak. Where's the leak? You have got to create a platform.
I mean, everybody has got to have something to aspire to, right?
Yes.
Every section.
Yeah.
But just out of curiosity, like, okay, yes, of course we need to invest in the young and we need to bring them up because like you said, they are the heroes for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But what, in your opinion right now, what about the current league? People who are not getting enough time on the field but sitting on the benches because of what has transpired. What needs to be done to encourage those people, those Malaysian footballers who are not given a chance?
Okay, I'm looking at it two scenarios. Scenario number one, we're talking about the top league. Who's playing in the top league? All foreigners, all right? So if it's all foreigners playing, then the local will sit on the bench. Fine. That's the scenario. Now, who sets the rules? Who sets the procedure of the tournament? The governing body. Why not? I've suggested personally once, I said, like if you have 11 players playing, you must have at least 6 local players playing.
There's no quota?
There is a quota, but it's
Nine
not being
foreigners to play, and you are an investor. You want to play the best player or you want to play the second best player, so to speak. So, because you spend money. So the system has got to change. Now, we were actually banging them, saying, look, make a policy. If you got 6 foreigners playing, the remaining 4 must be a local playing at all time. Even there is a substitute, another 4 fresh boys will play. That means you got 8 players at one time in action, and you will get this one. Oh, that one is up to the club. No. You instruct the club. This is the rules of the tournament. Right? So, by doing that, then we'll have better chance, more playing minutes for the boys, which is not happening. That's the senior side, huh?
Right.
to add on, when the M League banned foreign players, we won the AFF Suzuki Cup. 210.
Yeah.
Those players, when our players get that playing minutes, they can excel. We don't say, we are not xenophobic, don't bring in foreigners, bring quality foreigners, certain number of caps, they played for their international teams, they have experience, they are on the right age. When they come in, there's some sort of transfer of technology. They can, if we see Manchester United, when Cantona came to Manchester United, he inspired a generation of players. We need to have that kind of players. We can't have journeyman foreigners coming in to just make money. retiring in M League because they like to come here because the weather is nice, no traffic jam. They live lavishly here. Fine, but we need to have quality players coming in, setting example for our locals. That's where we lack. And on that sense, the part of managing a club, the finance, there must be a continuity, a 5-year plan, 5-year budget. You cannot 1 year change management, close down the team. The part of technical success, on-pitch success, still very much depends on administrative success, generation of revenue. These are the things that we are not really professional. We are still below semi-pro amateur level. Our players are professionals, but the way they are managed are not really professional in this M League.
So maybe this is actually a time for Malaysia to really look in and zero in on the ecosystem, as you mentioned, basically. And it's not just about that FIFA sanction, right? Because the FIFA sanction is just a turning point for us to it's like a whip in the butt.
It's a wake-up call.
Yeah, it's like a wake-up call, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the burst of brilliance, as you mentioned, we've seen that in the AFC 2010, right?
Yeah.
But how do we move on from that, right? But of course, what had transpired, unfortunately, with that particular issue, especially how the press conference, how it played out, a lot of the international sort of, I suppose, watchdogs are actually questioning like the integrity of Malaysian football with the whole scenario of the, I suppose, how the press conference was handled. In this particular context, can we have done better? How should we address crisis? What can be done when it comes to having to filter certain things better?
It was knowing the guy who conducted the press conference. He's not that bad of a person. He is quite well versed. It's just that we have to understand that the national team, they have a separate arm managing them, and then there's the FAM, the national body, the governing body. So it seems what happened transpired that day, that fateful press conference. There were no cohesion between the two parties. Both of us like, should I answer or you're answering?
And it's like a grab of the mic. Let me answer that better.
Let me answer better. And we expect someone who's the CEO of the national team supposed to be. The media that day were expecting the CEO of the national team to be more prominent answering the questions. But it ended up the FAM representative took charge. And he tried to explain things, but it's again answering for someone else's jurisdiction. It just turned out like that. It's sad to see that things were set up to manage the national team better, and it seems that day, despite the failure, the whatever, the perception came out. For me, it looks like there's no cohesion between the national body and the national team. Look, for me, it's like it's not working. It's like two entities trying to answer and nobody's taking ownership, or one person who's supposed to not take the ownership of the issue taking the ownership. FAM still the national body, they are still answerable, but when we have a CEO for a world-class who claims to be a world-class setup, we expect more from him, from the national team management.
Understood. Dato, from the behind the scenes, have there been any sort of like implications that have trickled down at your level?
Any rumbles in the
that affects
region?
your work?
Well, we try to stay away from administrative issues because we are men on the ground, ball still roll, we still have got to develop people. So for us, life goes on because this is not the end of football, right? If there is a mistake up there, please, for God's sake, you fix it. You fix it.
Yeah.
As far as the children of tomorrow, we need to have generation. We've got to have the pathway for the kids. We are more concerned about them because, as I said, they are the leaders of tomorrow. They're the heroes of tomorrow. We cannot deprive. We will continue sowing the seeds. We will fertilize them. We will nurture them. We will continue doing what we are doing. All right. But if the sanction comes, I always pray that you don't ban my country from participating in this one. But we can still survive with the domestic league. Never mind. So sit back, take a 2 years break, sabbatical break, fix your house, keep your house clean, fix your house, get your development right. Slowly we say goodbye to the foreigners. Then by the time I have got time to prepare the vacuum to fill up the gap. Something is blessing in this, guys. Something bad is for a betterment. I look at it at that aspect. This is one small, as you said, a smack on the butt to, it's a wake-up call. But development is a long road to freedom.
Yeah.
It's not today. So this is a plus point for me.
You never know, we might see another group of Sochin An and Mokdadaharis
Totally
and
agree.
Arumugams
I
and
totally
Satok
agree.
Singhs.
I really love the passion
Yes.
you have in your statement.
No,
yeah,
I mean,
true.
I love it because, like, you know what? This is actually having to reinstate the confidence or at least attention to the domestic league. Maybe it's been overlooked.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been overlooked way too long, right?
The domestic league cup finals, National Stadium is always full. There's no issues about that. We just need to fine-tune, manage things better. I don't say we lack talent. I don't say our fans are not passionate. We have everything. We are just managing things not well. It's everyone is taking Malaysian football club management, trial and error, failing and going somewhere. We need that to be strong. If we look at all the advanced nation, we don't go too far to the Europe. We look at Japan. Their clubs are very stable. They are well managed. They have culture, fan interest, generating revenues, football technicality is there, youth development is there. It's complete. We have a few things that works for us. There are few things that doesn't work for us. We need to fix that. We are not too far off. We are not a horrible football managed country. FAM is actually one of the better managed federation, member association under FIFA. FIFA respects FAM. We get on paper, FAM is one of the better run association even in this country when it comes to among national sports associations. So what lacks we need to fix, we must focus on fixing that. At times we get deviating, thinking too far ahead. We straight away thinking about Asian dominance. We need to look at Southeast Asia dominance first. You need to fix your M League first. And then you grow up. The foundation that we are on, our football, is not stable. We have one leg properly there, another leg is barely touching the ground. So they need to a lot of realization and acceptance that we are not perfect. Whatever success that we had, it's the moment you win. I read this. The moment you win something, you lift the cup, it's already in the past. You need to look forward. That's where
on to the next one. Yeah.
When we cannot dwell too much. We dwelled too much when we won the 2010 AFF Suzuki Cup, and after that, it's a step. Every step went wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong. We are now resulting in this, expecting foreigners to come and play for us, and it's one wrong step at a time, continuously from 2010 until now, and we are here. We still have not lost the soul of Malaysian football. We're still there. The stadium's still full. We still have ultras. People comment. People whack FAM. You continue having that passion. You angry.
Yeah.
Still is passion. It's still a feeling. Football evokes a lot of emotion. Keep that emotion. Keep that anger, but channel it positively.
They're talking about Senior World Cup. I would not want to think about that. You get your Junior World Cup qualify first.
Yes.
If you realistically, the juniors have got to qualify for the World Cup. You
First.
qualify your country for the Junior World Cup. 1997, we hosted the World Cup. We did not qualify. All right, so we have one slot there. Owens played at that time. But for me, you don't talk about Senior World Cup qualifying. You talk about your juniors.
Yeah.
The age group.
Yeah.
It's under 17. Under 17. You don't come back 11-0.
We don't come back 11-0. Yes.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately the latest update that we got, right? Malaysia lost to Croatia 11-0. And that was like a wake-up call and a very, very damning sort of like a result for us to be
Yes, I'm wiping a tear even as you say that, 11-0.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Rajan, when you say things about the football clubs, right, it starts at the very basic, like football clubs in Malaysia, they are not consistent because of funding issues. They're all struggling.
Yes.
At least most of them are. So that is also something that we really need to
When we talk about funding, when football club, you need to have X amount of budget. That's one. I think this is where we need government to come in. I don't like taxpayer money to be used on football. There must be a return of investment. But at the same time, what we lack, we need that seeding money. It's not just you just give them money or Menteri Besar give money. You have to make sure that money is well used. There is some result from it. There must progress on it. There must be a spillover effect. You know, the Europeans, when they have a club playing, the whole city turns into a fair. From morning to evening, there are concerts. It gives something to the crowd, the public, the citizen of that town or city. We don't have that. We need to develop that culture to think that when there's a sporting event, it's not just someone going there and win, or my son is playing, I'm going to cheer for him. It's supposed to be an avenue for people to have businesses, trade, concerts, healthy lifestyle. There are so many things that we need to have when it comes to a sporting event. For us, it's just a Malaysia Cup final. People going to come and watch the match, and then they're going back.
Right.
That culture, we need to build a lot of other things into it.
But in the context of changing that culture, we have to also remind ourselves that fancy papers won't let us win games. What we really need is actually more efforts on the ground, as Dato mentioned earlier.
Yes, grassroots.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this is all the time we have for this segment. I wish that we can actually expand this further, but I don't think this will be the last sort of like discussion on Malaysian football that we will have, obviously, because a lot of things are still transpiring, still developing. I'd like to thank first up Rajan for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. Nice chatting with you all.
Nice chatting with you as well. And of course, Dato, thank you so much for being here.
You're most welcome. Time flies fast, huh?
Time flies fast, especially when you're passionate about the topic.
Yes, it flies when we're having fun. Topics like this.
Thank you very much.
And to our audience, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with our second segment. It's a story that keeps repeating itself. Another boat capsized, another tragedy at sea, this time near the Thailand and Malaysia maritime border. Now the victims are Rohingya and Bangladeshi nationals, people actually fleeing persecution and poverty, risking everything they know just for safety.
And it's heartbreaking because it's not just a once-off story. You know, this is a story we hear every now and then. Back in 2015, we discovered a mass grave containing bodies of migrants back in Wangkalian. Every few months, we hear of overcrowded boats, of people adrift for days, even weeks without food, without water. Yet there doesn't seem to be a clear regional mechanism to stop it from happening again. So whose responsibility is it?
And when we asked that question, at least Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, recently urged the Malaysian government to step up, not just in the search and rescue operations, but also on how we treat these refugees, whether or not we provide enough medical or psychological care. Because you have to understand, these particular survivors, they are refugees. And it's very, concerning to know that they are being punished just for coming into Malaysia irregularly because they're fleeing something that they don't even want to be part of.
I mean, they're not refugees by choice. It's by circumstances. And, a lot of things surrounding the issue of refugees, like whose responsibility is this? And it really raises a difficult question. Where do we draw a line between national sovereignty and humanitarian duty? Especially when Malaysia isn't a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention. It is
an actual tension that is being looked into because between compassion as well as control, between domestic policy as well as regional responsibility, where do we go from here, right? It's easy to say that we care, but the reality paints a different picture because detention, lack of access to education, healthcare is still an issue.
And this is a question I think we really need to address. And what makes this conversation, so important today, it's not just about just this one tragedy at sea, because it's been happening. We keep hearing stories like this time and time again. Mass graves, refugees being treated, in a way that they should not be treated. So it's not just about this, but it's about the bigger systemic issue. How Malaysia and ASEAN as a whole responds to displacement in our region.
So, to talk further about the humanitarian, the legal, as well as the moral dimensions, we have with us SUHAKAM Commissioner Dato Ahmad Azam to share it all.
Dato, in the latest tragedy that was reported, to what extent does Malaysia actually bear the responsibilities for allowing such perilous maritime journeys? Because, as we know, Malaysia isn't a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention, yet we've become one of the largest host countries in the region. Why do you think also Malaysia continues to take on this humanitarian role, despite not being legally bound to do so?
Whether we like it or not, there are almost 200,000 Rohingya in Malaysia, meaning to say that even though Malaysia is not a state party to the 1951 the Refugee Convention, but on humanitarian ground, we allow them to come. You know, the fact that we have almost 200,000 Rohingya refugees, or I will call it a stateless person, residing in Malaysia since last 40 years ago, meaning to say that Malaysia on humanitarian ground, we are providing safe haven in a way for them to resettle to the third country. So I think in that context, Malaysia is doing more than it is supposed to do. But the resettlement to the third country, it is not encouraging for the past 40 years or so.
So where is actually the bottleneck? You know, is Malaysia actually unwilling, or is ASEAN structurally unable to take a unified, principled stance on refugee protection?
Malaysia should take the initiative, the leadership as an ASEAN chair, but we are going to end our term as an ASEAN chair. So what we call somehow I think we miss this opportunity because we are focusing ASEAN focusing on the political problem in Myanmar, but they what we call though they have a 5-point consensus on dealing with humanitarian assistance, but in context in Malaysia, what we call we are taking it alone, you know. So what we call other countries, since they are not affected directly, but there is a minimal assistance, a concern about the 200,000 refugees or stateless person of the Rohingya in Malaysia. So this is the issue, a missed opportunity. Okay, while we are focusing on the political solution in Myanmar, which I don't think it will be resolved soon, but we are still having this what we call continuous problem of people coming, and they are leaving Arakan. It is not by choice. Who want to leave their own hometown if everything is safe? But since they have no choice, but they have to seek refuge in other country. The Rohingya in particular, they are, for me, they are not refugees. They are stateless. They don't have a place to go until and unless there is a third country in the West, in particular, who are willing to take them. But the number is so minimal that it is so insignificant that we are still what we call facing the brunt of this stateless person on our own. We have yet to see the ASEAN community taking action as one voice. Okay, that's why Malaysia is proposing an ASEAN community in 2045. Hopefully, that by then the integration of ASEAN society into one will become a reality. But meanwhile, every country is serving their own nation interests. So because that is why Malaysia somehow is facing this influx of refugees alone, what we call in the sense of the word.
Dato, of course, I say this within the context of that, many Malaysians, even those who support humanitarian causes, fear that discussing long-term frameworks means giving citizenship or undermining the constitution. And that fear is often used online as a political ammunition. So, how can we actually treat the discourse without having to amplify emotional reactions or ideological extremes on both sides and essentially be grounded with dignity and realism at the same time?
The idea of extreme nationalism, hating the what we call the foreigners, are rampant in the West in particular. So we are going to be stuck there. That is why the root of the problem is the Myanmar political crisis that need to be resolved. This is what ASEAN is trying to focus. Try to resolve it. But dealing with the military junta is not easy. You know, that is why the focus of Malaysia and ASEAN is to get Myanmar to resolve their political crisis as soon as possible and accept the Rohingya as their own citizen. So this is the root of the problem. Until and unless this issue can be resolved, the refugee will keep on coming over here. The stateless person will keep on coming over here. So this is the catch-22 that we are facing right now. But the focus has to be in Myanmar itself. We are the effect of the crisis. We have to what we call accept the burden of the problem created by Myanmar itself. So these are the issues that we have to face. It is not as easy as what we think. It's not simplistic, but it's so complex that involves international, regional, as well as the national issues at one go. And we are controlling the border. I believe so. The government is doing their best, but still on humanitarian ground, when they are there, what we call what do we do as a human being? Are we going to allow them to sink and to their death?
Dato', so we speak about the importance of balancing compassion with sovereignty. And many Malaysians worry that humanitarian openness might be misinterpreted as weakening border control. But within the humanitarian context, how do we communicate that protecting borders and protecting lives are not mutually exclusive?
Until and we have the what we call legal framework whereby they can work while waiting for the transit, and where they can have the right to health and the right to education. Until this legal framework is instituted, then where do the Rohingya goes? They are under the radar. They will succumb to exploitation. They are being exploited in their own country, and they could be exploited in this country, in Malaysia, by certain people. So these are the issues that we have to face. So the answer to that, for the time being, whether we like it or not, legalize them in the context of right to livelihood, right to education and health. If that can be done, and I believe the National Security Council has already some ideas on that, but now the question of implementation. Are we going to wait another 5 years or 10 years? And well, there are 3 generations of Rohingya in Malaysia right now. What do they do? If they are not being educated, you will create a social time bomb in this country.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to also turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. You'll not only get NSC Beyond the Headlines update, other NSC Online's news reports will be delivered to you. Now follow us on our socials. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, as well as TikTok. My name is Amalina Kamal.
And I'm Elena Koshy.
And we'll see you next week.